World War II, humanity's darkest nightmare. 100 powerful historical photos are about to be revealed. Drop a one if you're ready to watch this video all the way through with me. Mud and ruin framed the road through northern France, 1944. A Sherman tank rolled past broken homes, its crew silent. Victory never felt this heavy, nor this gray. In the Ardennes, winter 1944, soldiers moved through a trench carved by thunder. Every step forward sank into mud and memory. The ground remembered what they tried to forget. France, late 1944. 3 young men, faces streaked with dirt, laughed like schoolboys. Between shells and silence, joy felt reckless and therefore precious. Along a soaked Belgian road, 1945, a tank led the way through mist and exhaustion. Behind it, men marched steady, chasing dawn with mud for their medals. The wind scraped Spanish hills in 1938 as 3 snipers waited in silence. Their rifles steady, their cause fragile, each trigger pull echoing louder than any anthem of freedom. Monte Cassino, 1944. Smoke swallowed the ridge as weary men climbed upward. Each step felt borrowed from fate itself. Every explosion a reminder that courage has no retreat. In December 1941, Pearl Harbor burned beneath a sky of thunder. The sea caught fire, and an empire awoke screaming. Its silence drowned somewhere between oil and ash. On Iwo Jima's Black Sands, 1945, men charged through storms of steel. The ground erupted, sky vanished, yet duty remained, steady, relentless, and deaf to mercy. He waited, half buried in Iwo Jima's soil, 1945. One eye watched through the scope, the other prayed for stillness. Even the heartbeat felt like treason. If you like this video, leave a 1 in the comments. 0 if you don't like it. High above Britain in the summer of 1940, Spitfires cut through the clouds like steel swallows, defending a sky that would decide the future of the free world. Under the brutal sun of Sicily in 1943, 2 soldiers rested in silence, their faces caked in dust, their eyes too young for the things they had seen. Along a ruined French village in late 1944, a squad crouched beneath shattered walls, waiting for orders that might never come. Even silence sounded like danger. In Bastogne, December 1944, 2 American soldiers shared a cigarette amid the snow. Between them, frost and fear spoke the same quiet language of endurance. Over Germany in 1943, B-17 bombers thundered through flak-filled skies. Each formation was a moving fortress, carrying both destruction and the hope that this war would finally end all wars. By early 1945 in northern France, 4 infantrymen hugged the frozen ground, scanning the horizon through rifle sights. The world had turned to smoke, mud, and waiting. From a shattered window in Berlin, April 1945, a lone sniper took aim. Behind him, a dying empire crumbled one shot, one street, one breath at a time. As winter settled over Belgium, a tank crawled through a ruined town. The cathedral spires still stood, sole witnesses to faith surviving where humanity nearly didn't. In the Pacific, 1944, soldiers disembarked from a steel giant, their boots sinking into volcanic ash. Each man carried more than weapons. He carried the weight of home. Through the dense Ardennes forest, in January 1945, 2 men in camouflage pressed forward, rifles raised. The cold bit deep, but fear was the sharper enemy. Beneath the treads of a Soviet T-34 in the winter of 1943, soldiers crouched in frozen trenches. Each heartbeat echoed louder than the tank above them. War pressed close enough to touch. From high above Omaha Beach, 1944, smoke rose like ghostly ribbons. The sea turned gray with iron and fear as waves carried men who dared to rewrite the fate of Europe. Leave a 1 so I know you're still breathing. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next videos. On the morning of December 7th, 1941, at Pearl Harbor, the sky split open with fire. Palm trees swayed beside hell itself as paradise learned the taste of smoke and metal. In France, summer, 1944, American infantry advanced beside burning tanks. Their helmets glistened under the rain of ash. Every step forward a gamble between duty luck and the cruel rhythm of survival. Through mud and exhaustion at Fort Benning in the spring of 1942, the Buffalo soldiers ran, not just toward victory, but toward equality. Every splash of water rewrote what freedom truly meant in America. In the jungle's suffocating silence, every leaf could kill, every breath could betray. He steadied his rifle and waited, because courage here had to whisper to survive. Under the shadow of the Apennines, gunners watched the skies burn. Between steel and smoke, they learned that defending freedom often means never feeling free yourself. They manned their anti-aircraft guns with tired smiles. Beneath tropical rain and shrapnel skies, these men fought 2 wars, one overseas and one within their own homeland. At Tuskegee, code crackled through worn headphones. Each signal carried more than orders. It carried proof that intelligence and bravery could never be measured by skin. In Alsace, the artillery didn't just break walls, it tore through memories. By 1945, even the air seemed tired of carrying smoke and the smell of burning photographs. Across Europe, the Black Cross banners rolled like thunder. They weren't just machines, they were sermons of power, preaching that silence could be conquered by noise. The Atlantic, 1939 to 1945. Somewhere beneath its waves, the U-boats still whisper. They hunted in darkness until the ocean forgot which side they fought for. Hamburg burned in July 1943, the night sky red enough to shame the sunrise. Firestorms don't choose sides. They erase them. August 6th, 1945. The sky above Hiroshima blossomed white, brighter than creation. In that light, mankind finally saw its own reflection. And flinched. On the Eastern Front, the snow learned the color of blood. Between 1941 and 1945, survival replaced victory, and winter became a better killer than bullets. Factories from Stalingrad to El Alamein roared day and night. Steel became faith, smoke became prayer, and progress forgot to ask what it was serving. In the uneasy calm of the 1930s, two men admired each other from afar, Henry Ford and Adolf Hitler. Sometimes evil and innovation share the same vocabulary. Over Europe, 1944, the skies became cemeteries. 100,000 bomber pilots vanished into the clouds, their bravery written only in the light of burning engines. By the end of 1945, Japan's soldiers no longer fought for victory, only for memory. Hunger wore their uniforms, and silence was their final order. On the Neckar River, engineers built a bridge that refused to die. It was 1945, and every nail they drove dared the shells to disagree. August 1945. London sang, Paris danced, and yet the world felt strangely hollow. Peace had returned, but laughter sounded foreign in its mouth. Before understanding, there was chaos. The first American to die in World War II fell to Soviet bullets, a cruel rehearsal for a friendship that would never truly begin. Geneva, 1930. Hope wore fine suits that year. The League of Nations promised peace, and history smiled politely, already writing its next obituary. August 6th, 1945. Hiroshima became a shadow. By August 9th, Nagasaki joined it. Triumph and tragedy arrived together, holding hands no one wanted to shake. Operation Barbarossa began with sunlight and arrogance. It was June 1941 when 3 million German troops crossed eastward, and the season itself froze in disbelief. Some families passed down recipes. Hitler's passed down irony. His nephew, William Patrick, fought for the U.S. Navy during the very war his uncle began. The year 1943 found Stalin unyielding, his will forged from hunger and fire. He carried a nation's grief the way others carried medals, silently and without choice. Kharkov burned before spring could thaw. Tanks clawed through mud and smoke in 1943, and somewhere in that chaos, the Soviet tide quietly began to turn. When Hitler strolled beneath the Eiffel Tower in 1940, he lingered only 10 minutes, long enough to steal a photograph, and Europe's pride along with it. On the St. Louis Bridge that June, French soldiers fought a losing battle. History called it defeat. Their faces called it dignity. In Kyiv, August 1942, a soccer ball rolled between prisoners and guards. The scoreboard read 5-3, but the real victory was breathing long enough to play. At the Brandenburg Gate, 1945, the Red Army posed for history. Behind every smile stood a ruin. Behind every ruin, a memory that refused to die. British engineers detonated a Nazi camp on May 21, 1945. The explosion erased the walls, but not the echo of what those walls had seen. Berlin's final spring, 1945. Street by street, the Reich collapsed. Propaganda promised eternity, but eternity lasted 12 years and ended in rubble. In 1941, American assembly lines blurred into rivers of steel. Tanks and jeeps rolled faster than sleep, and industry became the war's loudest prayer. When the Allies bombed Berlin in 1940, they missed a factory and hit the zoo. One elephant fell that night, an innocent drafted into history's cruelty. February 1945. Thawing snow, heavy rifles, heavier hearts. American engineers marched through France building bridges no one would remember and roads everyone needed to survive. Across North Africa, 1941-42, Rommel wrote his legend in sand. His brilliance dazzled even his enemies, proof that genius can bloom in the wrong garden. Tokyo's Prime Minister Tojo stood before mirrors and maps. By 1945, reflection became regret. Ambition had guided Japan straight into the fire it once admired. Stalingrad, 1942. When his commander fell, a lone soldier rose screaming a battle cry that history still hears. One frame of film that outlived the war. The Pacific, June 1942. Midway's waters erupted as U.S. bombers dove from the sun. 4 Japanese carriers sank in minutes, and the tide remembered how to turn. By spring 1945, trains rolled home through American plains, packed with boys who'd outlived Europe. Across the ocean, others still fought, unaware that dawn had already begun. Stalingrad again, 1943. Every street became a front line, every building a tomb. Yet the red flag rose, tattered but unbeaten, against a sky the color of smoke. Dresden, February 1945. The city became a single flame. Even victors paused to watch the sky burn red and wondered whether hell had borrowed their hands. Ebensee, July 1945. The gates opened at last, and walking skeletons stepped into sunlight. Liberation came too late for science, too late for God. just in time for guilt. On Mount Suribachi, February 1945, 6 Marines raised a flag through smoke and ash. The photo froze them forever, even as the island kept burning below. A week after Hiroshima, silence settled where a city once breathed. Steel skeletons stood like witnesses, whispering what victory costs when mercy runs out. In the ruins of Osaka and Tokyo, 1945, families built shelters from bus shells and broken glass. Hope doesn't need walls. It just needs somewhere dry to sleep. Tehran, 1943. 3 leaders, Stalin, Roosevelt, Churchill, shared one table and too many secrets. They planned the world's future on napkins stained with coffee and suspicion. In the Ardennes, winter 1944, soldiers moved through a trench carved by thunder. Every step forward sank into mud and memory. The ground remembered what they tried to forget. Along a soaked Belgian road, 1945, a tank led the way through mist and exhaustion. Behind it, men marched steady, chasing dawn with mud for their medals. He waited, half buried in Iwo Jima's soil, 1945. One eye watched through the scope, the other prayed for stillness. Even the heartbeat felt like treason. Along a ruined French village in late 1944, a squad crouched beneath shattered walls, waiting for orders that might never come. Even silence sounded like danger. By early 1945 in northern France, 4 infantrymen hugged the frozen ground, scanning the horizon through rifle sights. The world had turned to smoke, mud, and waiting. Beneath the treads of a Soviet T-34 in the winter of 1943, soldiers crouched in frozen trenches. Each heartbeat echoed louder than the tank above them. War pressed close enough to touch. In France, summer, 1944, American infantry advanced beside burning tanks. Their helmets glistened under the rain of ash. Every step forward a gamble between duty . They manned their anti-aircraft guns with tired smiles. Beneath tropical rain and shrapnel skies, these men fought 2 wars, one overseas and one within their own homeland. The Atlantic, 1939 to 1945. Somewhere beneath its waves, the U-boats still whisper. They hunted in darkness until the ocean forgot which side they fought for. August 6th, 1945. Hiroshima became a shadow. By August 9th, Nagasaki joined it. Triumph and tragedy arrived together, holding hands no one wanted to shake. The year 1943 found Stalin unyielding, his will forged from hunger and fire. He carried a nation's grief the way others carried medals, silently and without choice.